Welcome, weary travelers of the night, to Shadows of the Past. As the rain taps softly against your window, let these true crime tales wrap around you like a shroud, guiding you into the depths of sleep. Wherever you are, curled up in a city apartment or nestled in a quiet countryside, share your place and time in the comments below. Your whispers join our shadowed community. If these stories haunt you, leave a like, subscribe, and let the darkness pull you in. Tonight, we unravel 6 chilling cases. Murders, heists, and betrayals that linger like ghosts. Each tale is a puzzle pieced together by relentless detectives, revealing the fragility of trust and the weight of secrets. Close your eyes, let the rain carry you, and step into the past where shadows never fade. Part 1, The Murder of Charlie Reynolds. Richmond, Virginia, April 2000. The city hums beneath a pale spring moon, its streets lined with budding dogwoods, their petals trembling in the night breeze. The air carries the promise of renewal, of new beginnings. But in a desolate parking lot behind a sleek office building, that promise is shattered. Charlie Reynolds, a 35-year-old titan of industry, lies sprawled on the cold asphalt, his tailored suit soaked in crimson. 3 bullets have torn through his chest, each one a precise, deliberate strike. His eyes, wide and unseeing, stare into the starless sky, as if searching for answers that will never come. A faint breeze stirs, scattering papers from his briefcase, their edges curling in the damp air. This is no random act of violence. This is an execution. By dawn, yellow tape cordons off the scene, a grim barrier between the living and the dead. Detective Laura Barnes steps into the chill, her boots crunching on loose gravel, her breath forming fleeting clouds in the morning air. She's 42. With sharp gray eyes and a weariness carved from years of chasing shadows. She's seen death before, too many times, but something about Charlie's murder feels different. It's too clean, too calculated, like the work of a predator who knows their prey. She kneels beside the body, studying the precision of the wounds. No signs of struggle, no torn clothes, no defensive marks. His wallet, heavy with cash, sits untouched in his pocket. His watch, a gleaming Rolex, still ticks softly on his wrist. This wasn't about money. This was about power. Charlie Reynolds was no ordinary man. To Richmond, he was a beacon, a philanthropist with a disarming smile, a man who built schools, funded shelters, and reshaped the city's skyline with his construction empire, Reynolds Enterprises. His company was a juggernaut, erecting towers that gleamed under the Virginia sun, each one a testament to his ambition. He was the hometown hero, the man who gave back, whose name adorned community centers and scholarship funds. But Laura knows that heroes cast long shadows, and success breeds enemies as surely as it breeds praise. The line between admiration and envy is razor thin, and she's determined to find where it snapped. Laura begins at Charlie's office, a glass-walled shrine to his achievements. Blueprints cover the walls, each line a dream brought to life. His desk is meticulous. Schedules, contracts, a fountain pen aligned perfectly with the edge. A framed photo catches her eye, Charlie and his wife, Ellen, laughing at a charity gala, their smiles frozen in a moment of joy. Laura traces the frame with a gloved finger, wondering what secrets lie behind those smiles. She sifts through drawers, finding nothing out of place, no cryptic notes, no signs of chaos. It's almost too perfect, as if Charlie knew someone would come looking. Ellen Reynolds meets Laura at the precinct, her face pale, her hands trembling as she clutches a tissue. She's 34, elegant even in grief, her auburn hair pulled back tightly. "He had no enemies," she whispers, her voice breaking like thin glass. "Everyone loved Charlie. He was everything." Laura watches her closely, noting the way her eyes dart to the floor, the way her fingers twist the tissue into knots. Grief, yes, but is there guilt? Fear, she presses gently, asking about Charlie's routines, his business, his relationships. Ellen insists there were no threats, no strange calls, no signs of trouble. He was working late, she says. He always worked late. But her words feel rehearsed, and Laura files that thought away, a seed of doubt taking root. The investigation widens, pulling Laura into Charlie's inner circle. She starts with Billy Bradford, Charlie's business partner, a man who helped build Reynolds Enterprises from a 2-man operation into a powerhouse. Billy meets her at a downtown cafe, his handshake too firm, his smile too quick. He's 38, wiry, with thinning hair and eyes that never quite meet hers. "We were like brothers," he says, stirring his coffee with a jittery hand. Never heard him. Charlie was the heart of the company. But Laura catches the edge in his voice, the way his jaw clenches when he speaks of Charlie's success. She digs into Billy's past, learning he stepped back from the company years ago, relegated to a silent partner while Charlie took the spotlight. His finances are a mess, debts piling up, a second mortgage looming, a life unraveling in the shadow of Charlie's glory. Jealousy, Laura thinks, is a slow poison, one that festers in silence. Next, she tracks down James Walker, a subcontractor Charlie hired for low-cost labor. Walker's name raises eyebrows in the industry, a man with a rap sheet longer than Laura's arm, marked by bar fights, assault charges, and a reputation for solving problems with his fists. She finds him at a dive bar on the city's edge, the kind of place where the air smells of stale beer and regret. Walker's 40, broad-shouldered, with scarred knuckles and bloodshot eyes. He slouches against the bar, a whiskey glass sweating in his hand. Charlie was a saint, he says, his voice dripping with sarcasm, always preaching about community. Meanwhile, he's raking in millions while guys like me scrape by. Laura leans in, her voice steady. Did you resent him for it? Walker laughs, a harsh bark. Resent him? Sure. Kill him? Nah, I'm not that stupid. But his defiance feels hollow, and Laura senses a rage simmering beneath his words. Days bleed into weeks, and the case grows colder. Laura works late, her desk a battlefield of coffee cups, case files, and half-eaten takeout. The city's pulse quickens, whispers of Charlie's murder spreading through boardrooms and barrooms alike. Reporters hound her, their cameras flashing like vultures circling a corpse. But Laura keeps her focus. She visits Charlie's projects, a half-built school, a community center with his name on the cornerstone, each one a reminder of the man he was. He was a dreamer, she thinks, but dreams make enemies. Charlie's ethical practices, fair wages, transparent bids, undercut competitors, threatening profits in an industry built on backroom deals. Could that be the motive? A business rival? A spurned contractor? A shadow in the boardroom? Laura's nights are sleepless, haunted by Charlie's face, his unseen eyes burned into her memory. She replays the crime scene in her mind, the precise bullet wounds, the untouched wallet, the eerie calm of it all. She interviews Charlie's employees, his friends, even his barber, chasing any thread that might unravel the truth. Most paint him as a saint, but a few drop hints, subtle, fleeting, about tensions in the industry. Not everyone like Charlie's way, the foreman mutters. He stepped on toes, big ones. Laura presses, but the man clams up, fear flickering in his eyes. She's getting closer, she knows it, but to what? The breakthrough comes on a rainy night as Laura sits in the precinct's dim glow, her eyes burning from hours at the computer. Charlie's laptop, seized from his office, holds a secret, a folder labeled miscellaneous, buried in layers of mundane files. Inside are encrypted emails, their language cold and corporate, discussing, neutralizing a threat. The words send a chill down Laura's spine. Threat could mean anything. A rival, a whistleblower, Charlie himself. She hands the laptop to her tech team, a group of bleary-eyed specialists who live on energy drinks and code. They trace the emails to a shell company, Pinnacle Holdings, a name that surfaces in whispers among Richmond's elite. Pinnacle isn't just a company. It's a front, linked to a network of investors who control the city's economic veins. These are men who move markets with a nod, whose names never appear in the papers but whose influence is everywhere. Laura's pulse quickens. She follows the money, her fingers trembling as she uncovers wire transfers from Pinnacle to an offshore account. The account belongs to a holding company, its trail winding through tax havens, but a single name emerges, Billy Bradford. She confronts him at his home, a modest split level that reeks of desperation. The living room is cluttered with unpaid bills, the air thick with tension. Billy's face pales as Laura lays out the evidence, her voice calm but unyielding. They came to me, he stammers, sweat beading on his brow. Pinnacle. They said Charlie was ruining everything, cutting their profits, exposing their deals. They offered me a way out of debt. I didn't pull the trigger. I swear. His words spill like a confession, but Laura presses harder. Who did? Billy's eyes drop. Walker, James Walker. They paid him to do it. Laura's heart races, but she keeps her composure. Billy's story checks out. Phone records show calls between him and a burner linked to Walker, and bank deposits match the timeline of Charlie's death. She orchestrates a sting, luring Walker to a warehouse under the guise of a new job. He arrives, cocky and careless, unaware of the SWAT team waiting in the shadows. When Laura steps forward, badge gleaming, Walker's bravado cracks. Charlie had it coming, he snarls, handcuffs snapping around his wrists. Too good for his own good. Thought he could change the game. His confession is cold, unrepentant, a window into a mind that sees violence as currency. But Billy and Walker are only pawns. The real architects, the investors behind Pinnacle, remain untouchable. Laura builds her case meticulously, wiretapping phones, tailing associates, each step a dance with danger. She uncovers a web of influence that stretches beyond Richmond into boardrooms and private clubs where deals are sealed over cigars and whiskey. These men, she learns, saw Charlie as a threat, his ethical empire a challenge to their greed-driven world. They didn't pull the trigger, but they wrote the script, their hands clean but their souls stained. The trial is a spectacle, Richmond's elite watching from the sidelines as Billy and Walker face justice. Billy, broken and hollow, pleads guilty, his sentence 20 years. Walker, defiant to the end, gets life without parole. The courtroom buzzes, but Laura feels no triumph. The investors' names never surface, their power a shield no evidence can pierce. She testifies, her voice steady but her heart heavy. The jury sees the truth, but the system protects its own. Laura visits Charlie's grave on a rainy afternoon, the cemetery silent save for the patter of drops on her umbrella. Ellen stands nearby, laying white roses on the headstone, her sobs carried by the wind. The inscription reads, "Beloved husband, visionary." Laura traces the words with her eyes, wondering if Charlie knew the cost of his ideals. Justice, she thinks, is a fleeting shadow when power writes the rules. He turns away, the city's skyline looming through the mist, a monument to Charlie's dreams and the greed that ended them. The rain falls harder now, washing away the blood, but not the questions. Somewhere in Richmond's gleaming towers, the real killers still walk free, their shadows lengthening with every step. Part 2, The Murder of Heather McDonald. Seattle, Washington, April 2000. The Burke-Gilman Trail winds through the city like a quiet artery, its gravel path shaded by towering evergreens, their needles whispering secrets to the wind. By day, it's a haven for jogglers, cyclists, and dreamers, the air alive with the rhythm of footsteps and the chatter of lives in motion. But tonight, under a crescent moon, the trail is a graveyard. Heather McDonald, 23, lies crumpled in the dirt, her blonde hair tangled with fallen leaves, her neck marred by cruel bruises. Her running shoes, still tightly laced, gleam faintly in the moonlight, a silent testament to a life cut short. Her eyes, once bright with promise, stare blankly at the stars, as if asking why. The night is still, save for the distant hum of the city, and the trail holds its breath, guarding the truth of what happened here. Dawn breaks, gray and heavy with mist, as Detective Karen Montgomery arrives at the scene. She's 39, with dark hair pulled back and eyes that carry the weight of too many tragedies. The air clings to her skin, damp and cold, as she steps onto the trail, her boots sinking slightly into the earth. Karen has seen death before. Car accidents, overdoses, bar fights gone wrong. But this feels different. Heather's body, small and fragile against the vastness of the trail, stirs something deep within her, a pang of loss she can't name. She kneels beside the body, her gloved hands tracing the marks on Heather's neck. Strangulation, deliberate and brutal, no signs of robbery. Her phone lies nearby, screen cracked but intact. Her watch, a simple Timex, still ticks softly. This wasn't about theft. This was about something darker, something personal. Or worse, something senseless. Heather McDonald was everyone's daughter, everyone's friend, a psychology major at the University of Washington. She was a star in every sense. Bright, kind, the kind of person who lit up a room with her laughter. She volunteered at a women's shelter, her warmth a balm to those in pain, and dreamed of a career helping others heal. Karen studies the scene, noting the absence of chaos. No torn clothing, no scattered belongings, just Heather, alone, in the dirt. Her team combs the trail, their flashlights cutting through the fog, and finds a single clue. A torn scrap of gray fabric, coarse and frayed, caught in a blackberry bush a few yards away. It's not much, but in a case this barren, it's a lifeline. Karen slips it into an evidence bag, her mind already racing. Who was here? Who watched Heather run? Her ponytail bouncing, her breath steady, and decided she would make it home. Karen begins with Heather's life, piecing together the person behind the tragedy. She visits Heather's apartment, a cozy space filled with textbooks, Polaroids, and a corkboard pinned with dreams, concert tickets, a grad school application, a photo of Heather laughing with her roommate, Sarah. Sarah meets Karen at the precinct, her eyes red from crying, clutching that same photo. She was careful, Sarah says, her voice trembling. She never ran alone at night. She knew the trail could be creepy after dark. But Heather's routine was predictable. Same path, same time, every evening at dusk. Karen wonders if someone noticed, someone who watched from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment. She presses Sarah for details. Did Heather mention anyone strange, any odd encounters? Sarah shakes her head, but her hesitation lingers, a flicker of doubt. Karen files away. The investigation leads to Heather's ex-boyfriend, Paul Jackson, a 24-year-old artist with a brooding intensity. Karen finds him at his studio, a cluttered loft smelling of turpentine and regret. Paint streaks his hands, his dark eyes narrowing as Karen introduces herself. I heard about Heather, he says, his voice low. It's awful. He claims they parted amicably months ago, a mutual decision when their lives diverged. But Karen senses an edge, a defensiveness in the way he avoids her gaze. His alibi is shaky, a late-night painting session, no witnesses, just a canvas he claims he worked on alone. I loved her, Paul says, but the words feel hollow, rehearsed. Karen leaves with more questions than answers, her instincts flaring. Paul's temper, rumored among Heather's friends, makes him a suspect, but suspicion isn't evidence, and Karen needs more than a hunch. Days turn to weeks, and the case grows colder, the trail's secrets buried deeper with each passing rain. Seattle mourns Heather, her face plastered on flyers across the city, her smile a haunting reminder of what was lost. Her parents, David and Linda, stand outside the university, clutching each other, their voices breaking as they beg for answers. Karen feels their grief like a weight on her chest. Her nights sleepless, haunted by Heather's image. Alive, laughing, then still in the dirt. She revisits the trail, walking its paths at dusk, trying to see what Heather saw, feel what she felt. The evergreens loomed, their branches swaying as if whispering clues Karen can't yet hear. She's missing something, she knows it, but the trail guards its truth with a stubborn silence. The city's pulse quickens, reporters circling like sharks, their questions sharp and relentless. Any leads, detective? They ask, cameras flashing. Karen deflects, her face a mask, but the pressure gnaws at her. She interviews Heather's professors, her shelter colleagues, her running group, chasing any thread that might unravel the mystery. Most describe Heather as a saint, untouchable, but a shelter volunteer mentions something odd. A man who lingered outside, watching Heather during her shifts. He was creepy, the volunteer says, muttering to himself, staring like she was special. Karen's heart skips. She presses for details, but the description is vague, disheveled, middle-aged, gone before anyone could confront him. It's a lead, fragile but real, and Karen clings to it. Back at the precinct, Karen's team cross-references the description with police records, their computers humming through the night. A name emerges, Eric Donovan, 30, a drifter with a history of schizophrenia. Released from a psychiatric facility 6 months ago, Eric vanished into Seattle's underbelly, his medication untouched, his caseworker unaware of his whereabouts. Karen's stomach twists. She's seen cases like this before, minds unraveling, systems failing, lives slipping through the cracks. She tracks Eric to a rundown motel on the city's edge, its neon sign flickering like a dying star. The clerk, a weary man with cigarette-stained fingers, confirms Eric's presence. Room 12, he mutters, keeps to himself. Weird guy. Karen approaches the door, her hand resting on her holster, her pulse steady but loud in her ears. She knocks, the sound sharp in the quiet. Eric opens the door, his frame gaunt, his hands trembling. His room is chaos, walls papered with scribbled notes, newspaper clippings, and photos, many of Heather, torn from flyers. She was an angel, Eric mumbles, his voice distant, his eyes unfocused. She spoke to me. In my head, Karen's breath catches. The clippings tell a story of obsession, Heather transformed into a divine figure in Eric's fractured mind. She spots a gray jacket on the floor, torn at the sleeve, matching the fabric from the trail. Eric, she says softly, what happened to Heather? His face crumples, tears welling. I didn't mean to hurt her, he whispers. She was supposed to stay with me. The confession spills like a flood, jumbled but damning. Eric describes following Heather, drawn by delusions that painted her as his savior. That night, he approached her on the trail, his mind a storm of voices. I just wanted to talk, he says, his voice breaking, but she was scared. She ran. I grabbed her. His hands, he admits, closed around her neck, driven by a warped need to keep her close. Karen listens, her heart heavy, her mind racing. The evidence seals his fate. Fingerprints on Heather's phone, fibers from his jacket, a timeline that matches. Eric is arrested, his wrists cuffed, his eyes vacant as he's led away. The trial is swift, a formality in the face of overwhelming evidence. Eric's defense argues insanity, painting a portrait of a man betrayed by his own mind. The prosecution counters with Heather's final moments, her terror etched in the bruises on her neck. The jury deliberates briefly, their verdict unanimous. Eric is sentenced to a psychiatric facility, his life confined to padded walls and medication regimens. But Karen feels no triumph. The courtroom, packed with Heather's family and friends, is a sea of grief, their sobs a chorus of what might have been. David and Linda clutch a photo of Heather, their faces etched with a pain that no verdict can ease. Karen digs deeper, driven by a need to understand not just who killed Heather, but why the system let it happen. She learns Eric was discharged from care with no follow-up, his case lost in a sea of budget cuts and overburdened staff. Seattle's mental health system, she discovers, is a patchwork of good intentions and broken promises, patients like Eric abandoned to their demons. The realization gnaws at her, a reminder of how fragile the safety net is, how easily it frays. Heather's death wasn't just Eric's doing. It was a failure of a society that turned its back. Karen meets with Heather's parents, their home a shrine to their daughter. Photos, awards, a half-finished quilt Heather was sewing. Linda speaks softly, her voice steady despite the tears. "We're starting a foundation," she says, "for Heather, to help people like him before it's too late." David nods, his hand on Linda's shoulder. "She'd want that," he says. "She always saw the good in people." Karen listens, her throat tight, marveling at their strength. The Heather McDonald Foundation, they explain, will advocate for mental health reform, a legacy born of loss but rooted in hope. Weeks later, Karen returns to the Burke-Gilman Trail, the air crisp with the promise of spring. The evergreens stand sentinel, their branches swaying in the breeze. A small memorial marks the spot where Heather fell, a wooden cross adorned with flowers and notes, a testament to a life that touched so many. Karen kneels, her fingers brushing the petals, her mind heavy with questions. Could she have saved Heather? Could anyone? The trail stretches into the distance, its paths winding through shadow and light, a reminder that some truths are buried too deep to unearth. She thinks of Eric, locked away, his mind a prison no bars could match. She thinks of Heather's parents, their grief, a weight they'll carry forever. And she thinks of the system that failed them all, its cracks wide enough to swallow lives. The rain begins to fall, soft and steady, washing over the trail, the memorial, the city. Karen stands, her coat damp, her heart heavier than when she arrived. Heather's smile lingers in her mind, a beacon in the darkness, a reminder of why she keeps going. But as she walks away, the wind whispers a truth she can't ignore. Some scars never heal, and some shadows never fade. Part 3. The Midtown Heist. Midtown, Pennsylvania, March 2000. The small town slumbers under a blanket of stars, its main street lined with brick storefronts and flickering streetlights, a place where time seems to pause. The First National Bank stands at the heart of it all, a modest building with a faded sign, its vault holding the dreams and savings of a tight-knit community. But tonight, as the clock strikes 2 a.m., the silence shatters. A lone figure slips through the shadows, moving with the precision of a ghost. Richard "Rick" Daniels, a 41-year-old carpenter with no criminal record, has planned this moment for months. Inside the bank, he disables alarms, cracks the vault, and vanishes with bags of cash, leaving no trace but a whisper of his desperation. By dawn, Midtown wakes to a crime that will ripple through its streets, a betrayal of trust that no one saw coming. Detective Emily Hayes arrives as the sun rises, her sedan pulling into the bank's parking lot, the air crisp with the scent of pine. She's 36, with auburn hair tied back and eyes that miss nothing, a woman who thrives on puzzles but dreads their human cost. The bank manager, a wiry man named Harold, greets her, his hands shaking as he describes the scene. "It's like they were never here," he says, his voice tight. "No fingerprints, no mess, just gone." Emily steps inside, her boots echoing on the polished floor. The vault door hangs open, its steel gleaming, the shelves inside stripped bare, no signs of forced entry, no broken locks, just an eerie precision that chills her. This wasn't a smash and grab. This was a masterpiece. Rick Daniels is a ghost in Midtown, a man known for his quiet demeanor and steady hands. A carpenter by trade, he built bookshelves for the library, repaired pews for the church. His work a quiet pride in a town that values hard labor. But beneath the surface, Rick was drowning. Gambling debts piled up, his savings drained by late-night poker games and desperate bets at the racetrack. His wife Clara left him a year ago, taking their daughter Lily and leaving Rick with a house full of silence and regret. Emily learns this from neighbors, their voices hushed as if speaking of Rick's fall as a betrayal of their own. He was a good man, one says, just lost his way. But Emily knows good men can break, and broken men can do desperate things. The heist is a puzzle, its pieces scattered across Midtown's sleepy streets. Emily's team combs the bank, finding nothing. No fingerprints, no fibers, no security footage. The cameras were disabled, the alarms bypassed with surgical skill. This guy knew what he was doing, a tech says, shaking his head. Emily nods, her mind racing. Rick's carpentry skills, precision, patience, could translate to this kind of work. But he's no master criminal. How did a man with no record pull off a heist this clean? She visits Rick's workshop, a cluttered shed behind his modest home. Tools line the walls, their edges worn but sharp, blueprints tucked in a drawer. Among them, she finds a sketch of the bank's layout, crude but detailed, its margins filled with notes on alarm codes and guard schedules. Her pulse quickens. Rick isn't just a suspect, he's the architect. But Rick is gone. His truck, a battered Ford, is missing. His house, empty. The fridge stocked with untouched food. Emily issues an APB, her gut telling her Rick's running, but not far. She digs into his life, piecing together a man unraveling under pressure. Bank records show withdrawals, small at first, then frantic, as Rick tried to cover his debts. Loan sharks, she learns, were circling, their threats whispered in dark corners of the town's only bar. Clara, reached by phone, speaks softly, her voice heavy with guilt. He loved Lily, she says. But the gambling, it consumed him. I couldn't stay. Emily listens, noting Clara's sorrow, wondering if Rick's heist was a last-ditch effort to win back his family or simply to survive. The investigation widens, pulling in the FBI as the stolen cash, nearly $200,000, 0 cents, makes the case a federal matter. Agent Mark Sullivan joins Emily, his suit crisp, his demeanor all business. This guy's no pro, Mark says, studying the bank schematics. He's smart, but he's scared. Scared people make mistakes. Emily agrees, but she sees more than fear in Rick's actions. She sees desperation, a man pushed to the edge, his careful life collapsing under the weight of his choices. They trace Rick's truck to a rental agency in Ohio, where it was returned days after the heist. The clerk remembers a nervous man, paying cash, renting a sedan under a false name. He kept looking over his shoulder, the clerk says, like he was running from something. Emily's heart sinks. Rick's not just running, he's vanishing. Weeks pass, and the trail grows cold. Midtown buzzes with rumors, the bank heist a wound that festers in the town's heart. Shopkeepers whisper about Rick, their voices a mix of pity and betrayal. He was one of us, a baker says, shaking her head. How could he? Emily feels the town's pain, her nights sleepless, haunted by Rick's sketch, its lines a map of his downfall. She revisits the bank, walking its halls at midnight, trying to see what Rick saw, feel what he felt. The vault looms, its steel a silent witness to his crime. She imagines him here, alone, his hands steady but his heart racing, knowing there was no turning back. A break comes from an unexpected source, a gas station clerk in upstate New York who recognizes Rick from a news report. He was here, the clerk says, pointing to a grainy security photo. Bought coffee, paid cash, looked like he hadn't slept in days. Emily and Mark follow the lead, their search narrowing to the Bronx, a concrete jungle far from Midtown's quiet streets. They stake out a low-rent apartment, its windows dark, its tenant a man matching Rick's description. Emily's pulse races as they move in, her hand on her radio, Mark at her side. The door creaks open, revealing Rick, unshaven and hollow-eyed, a duffel bag of cash at his feet. He doesn't resist, his shoulders slumping as cuffs snap around his wrists. I just wanted to start over, he whispers, his voice barely audible. For Lily. At the precinct, Rick's confession spills like a dam breaking. He describes the heist in meticulous detail, months of planning, studying the bank's routines, learning its weaknesses. I watched the guards, he says, his eyes distant. Knew their shifts, their habits, the alarms. I figured them out from manuals I found online. Emily listens, marveling at his ingenuity, pitying his ruin. Rick admits to the gambling, the debts, the loan sharks who threatened Lily if he didn't pay. I thought the money would fix it, he says, his voice cracking. But it just broke everything. He speaks of Clara, of Lily's birthday cards he kept in his wallet, of a life he couldn't reclaim. The cash, he says, is mostly intact, hidden in the apartment. a futile offering to a daughter he'll never see grow up. The trial is a quiet affair, Midtown's residents filling the courtroom, their faces a mix of sorrow and anger. Rick pleads guilty, his head bowed, his lawyer arguing desperation, not malice. The prosecutor counters with the town's trust, shattered by a man they called neighbor. The judge, stern but not unkind, sentences Rick to 10 years, a decade to reflect on a single night's choice. Emily watches from the back, her heart heavy. The money is returned, the bank's wounds patched, but Midtown will never be the same. Shopkeepers lock their doors now, neighbors eye each other with suspicion. The heist a scar on the town's soul. Emily visits Clara after the trial, delivering a letter Rick wrote to Lily, sealed with a carpenter's careful hand. Clara's eyes well as she takes it, her fingers trembling. He wasn't a bad man, she says. He just lost himself. Emily nods, her throat tight, knowing no words can mend what's broken. She thinks of Lily, growing up without a father, her memories of Rick tainted by headlines. The letter she hopes might offer a piece of him, a truth beyond the crime. Back in Midtown, Emily walks the main street at dusk, the streetlights casting long shadows. The bank stands as it always has, its sign a little more faded, its vault a little more secure. She pauses outside, her breath visible in the cool air, her mind replaying Rick's confession, his quiet, "I'm sorry," as he was led away. Desperation, she thinks, is a thief of its own, stealing lives as surely as any heist. She imagines Rick in his cell carving his daughter's name into the wall, a craftsman's tribute to a love he couldn't save. The rain begins to fall, soft and steady, washing over the town, the bank, the street where Rick once walked as a free man. Emily pulls her coat tighter, her boots splashing through puddles, her heart heavier than when she arrived. Midtown will heal, she knows, but some wounds leave marks too deep to fade. Rick's heist was more than a crime. It was a mirror reflecting the fragility of trust, the weight of choices, the cost of a life pushed too far. As she drives away, the town fades in her rear view, its lights blurring in the rain, a reminder that even in the quietest places, shadows wait to claim their due. Part 4, the Los Angeles Jewelry Heist. Los Angeles, California, summer 2000. The city pulses under a relentless sun, its streets a mosaic of ambition and excess. In the heart of Beverly Hills, where wealth glitters like a promise, the House of Elegance jewelry store stands as a temple to opulence. Its windows gleam with diamonds, emeralds, and watches that cost more than most homes, each piece a siren call to the elite. But today, as the clock nears noon, 4 shadows slip into this shrine, their movements synchronize, their intent as sharp as a blade. Victor, Lisa, Greg, and James, strangers to the world but bound by greed, execute a heist so audacious it will echo through the city's underbelly. In minutes, they vanish with $10 million, 0 cents in jewels, leaving behind shattered glass and a city on edge. This is no ordinary theft. This is a masterpiece of crime painted in silence and precision. Detective Rachel Ortiz arrives as sirens wail, her unmarked car weaving through Beverly Hills' manicured streets. She's 40, with dark eyes that cut through lies and a calm that belies her tenacity. The store is a crime scene now, its elegance marred by chaos. Display cases smashed, velvet trays empty, employees huddled in shock. The manager, a polished woman named Evelyn, meets Rachel, her voice trembling but controlled. "They were like ghosts," she says, "in and out before we could blink." Rachel steps inside, her boots crunching on broken glass, her gaze sweeping the room. Security cameras are dark, their wires severed with surgical precision. The vault, a fortress of steel, yawns open, its contents gone. No fingerprints, no stray hairs, just the faint scent of adrenaline lingering in the air. This wasn't a heist. It was a performance. The House of Elegance was no random target. Its clients included Hollywood stars, tech moguls, and foreign dignitaries. Its inventory insured for millions. Rachel learns the store's security was state-of-the-art. Motion sensors, pressure plates, guards trained to spot trouble. Yet the thieves bypassed it all, moving like they rehearsed every step. She watches grainy footage from a nearby traffic camera, the only clue left behind, a black van, no plates, speeding away moments after the heist. Rachel's mind races. This took planning, resources, and nerve. She's hunting professionals, a crew with skills honed in shadows, their greed outweighing their fear. Rachel begins with the store's employees, their faces pale, their stories consistent. They wore masks, a clerk says, her hands shaking. Black gloves, no skin showing. They didn't shout, didn't panic, just worked. The precision unsettles Rachel. She questions the guards, the manager, even the janitor, searching for an inside man, but finds only fear. Evelyn mentions a recent delivery, a shipment of rare, pink diamonds, valued at $3 million, 0 cents alone. They knew, she whispers. They went straight for them. Rachel's instincts flare. This was no lucky hit. Someone tipped them off, someone who knew the store's secrets. The investigation pulls Rachel into Los Angeles' glittering facade, where wealth masks a darker world. She starts with the crew's leader, Victor, a name whispered in the city's criminal circles. No last name, no record, just rumors of a man who plans heists like symphonies. Rachel's informants, street hustlers and ex-cons, speak of him in hushed tones. Victor's a ghost, one says, eyes darting. You don't find him. He finds you. But ghosts leave traces, and Rachel is relentless. She digs into recent thefts, cross-referencing patterns, looking for Victor's signature. A diamond heist in San Francisco, a watch theft in Miami. Clean, precise, no one caught. She senses his hand, but proving it is another matter. Lisa, the crew's tech expert, is Rachel's next focus. Informants describe a woman with a knack for disabling security systems, her fingers dancing over wires like a pianist. Rachel traces a lead to a hacker convention in Vegas, where a woman matching Lisa's description was seen months ago boasting about unlocking Fort Knox. The trail is thin, but Rachel follows it, her team scouring digital footprints, phone records, anything that might pin Lisa down. Greg, the crew's fence, is easier to track. A small-time crook with a taste for flashy cars, he's known in LA's underground markets, selling stolen goods to shady dealers. James, the safecracker, is the enigma. A loner with skills honed in prison, his past a patchwork of high-stakes thefts. Together, they're a machine, each part essential, each link a potential weak point. Weeks pass and the case grows complex, the stolen jewels vanishing into a global black market. Rachel's desk is a war zone of files, maps, and coffee stains, her night spent chasing leads that evaporate like mist. The city buzzes with the heist's audacity, tabloids splashing headlines. Beverly Hills bandits strike. The pressure mounts, LAPD brass demanding results, but Rachel keeps her focus. She revisits the store, walking its aisles at dusk, imagining the crew's movements, their silent signals, their calculated risks. The vault looms, its steel a testament to their skill. She wonders what drove them, what binds a group so disparate yet so lethal. Greed, yes, but something deeper, something human. A break comes from an unlikely source, a pawn shop in San Diego where a stolen diamond ring surfaces. The shop owner, nervous under Rachel's scrutiny, points to a man who sold it, a jittery guy named Gary, matching Greg's description. Rachel's team traces Gary Thompson, a 32-year-old with a rap sheet for petty theft, to a seedy motel in Tijuana. She crosses the border, her heart pounding, and finds Greg, his bravado gone, his eyes darting like a trapped animal. I didn't plan it, he stammers, hands raised. I just moved the stuff. He names Victor as the mastermind, Lisa as the tech, James as the muscle. Under pressure, he reveals a deal gone wrong, a buyer in Mexico who tipped off the feds. Rachel's pulse quickens. The crew is fracturing, their perfect plan unraveling. The investigation accelerates, Rachel coordinating with the FBI and international agencies. Lisa, tracked through phone records, is found in a tourist-heavy apartment in Puerto Vallarta, her false identity crumbling under surveillance. She's calm when arrested, her blonde hair tucked under a cap, her eyes defiant. You think this ends with me, she says, a smirk playing on her lips. Victor proves harder to catch, his trail leading to a remote cabin in Northern California. Rachel's team storms the hideout, finding blueprints, burner phones, and a map marked with future targets. Victor surrenders without a fight, his charisma intact, his voice smooth as silk. You're good, detective, he says, cuffs snapping shut. But you're late. James, the safecracker, is the last to fall, caught in Las Vegas after selling diamonds to an undercover agent. His arrest is quiet, his face a mask of resignation, his skills no match for the FBI's sting. The arrests are a triumph, but Rachel feels no victory. The crew, Victor, Lisa, Greg, James, face trial, their fates sealed by a mountain of evidence. Recovered jewels, wiretaps, Greg's confession. Victor, the orchestrator, gets 25 years, his charm useless behind bars. Lisa, the tech genius, receives 20 years, her defiance fading in the courtroom's glare. James, the safecracker, takes 15 years, his silence a final act of rebellion. Greg, the weak link, gets 10 years, his plea deal a lifeline he barely deserves. The jewels, most recovered, are returned to the house of elegance, but the store's shine is tarnished, its employees haunted by the memory of masked figures and glinting steel. Rachel digs deeper, driven by Victor's taunt. The heist, she learns, was no isolated act, but a cog in a larger machine. A criminal syndicate stretching from California to Hong Kong, its tendrils woven into underground markets and organized crime. The pink diamonds, she discovers, were sold through a dealer named Marco, a man with ties to smuggling rings and cartel money. Rachel's team, working with Interpol, traces Marco to a penthouse in Miami, his empire crumbling under raids and arrests. The syndicate's reach staggers her, stolen goods moving across borders, laundered through shell companies, a network so vast it seems untouchable. Yet each arrest, each recovered jewel, chips away at its power, a slow victory in a war without end. The trial leaves scars, not just on the crew, but on Los Angeles. The House of Elegance reopens, its windows gleaming, but its employees flinch at sudden noises, their dreams plagued by the heist terror. Evelyn, the manager, speaks to Rachel after the verdict, her voice soft but steady. "We're healing," she says, "but it's slow. Trust is fragile." Rachel nods, her heart heavy, knowing the city feels it too. A betrayal of its gilded promise. A reminder that even in Beverly Hills, shadows lurk. Rachel walks Rodeo Drive at twilight, the city's lights flickering like a mirage. The House of Elegance stands ahead, its facade pristine, its secrets buried. She thinks of Victor, his smug smile, his words echoing, "You're late." She thinks of the Syndicate, its roots deeper than she can reach, its players still out there, planning, waiting. Greed, she knows, is a fire that never dies, burning through lives, leaving ashes in its wake. The rain begins to fall, soft and cool, washing over the city, the store, the streets where the crew once walked as ghosts. Rachel pulls her jacket tighter, her steps slow, her mind heavy with the weight of justice half won. The heist is over, the jewels return, but the shadows it casts stretch far beyond the horizon, a reminder that some crimes ripple forever. Part 5, the Los Angeles Carjacking Syndicate. Los Angeles, California, 2000-2001. The city sprawls beneath a restless sky, its highways a labyrinth of dreams and desperation. By night, the streets hum with the glow of neon and the roar of engines, a symphony of ambition and excess. But in the shadows, a different rhythm pulses, one of fear, of violence, of wheels screeching into the dark. A syndicate led by the elusive Carlos, Big C Hernandez, has turned Los Angeles into a hunting ground. Luxury cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls Royces are their prey. Stolen at gunpoint, their owners left trembling on the asphalt. The cars vanish into a web of chop shops and black markets, fueling a criminal empire that launders money, smuggles drugs, and leaves a trail of terror. This is no petty theft ring. This is a machine, oiled with greed and driven by power. Its reach tightening around the city like a noose. Detective Javier Morales arrives at the latest crime scene. A quiet Bel Air street where a Bentley lies abandoned, its driver's door ajar. He's 45, with a weathered face and eyes that have seen too much, a man who carries the city's scars as his own. The victim, a tech executive named Michael Grant, stands nearby, his suit rumpled, his hands shaking as he recounts the attack. "They came out of nowhere," he says, his voice hollow. "Two guys, masks, guns. They took the car, my watch, everything." Javier scans the scene, his boots scuffing the pavement. No shell casings, no fingerprints, just tire marks, fading into the night. This is the 7th carjacking this month, each one bolder, each one cleaner. Javier knows he's not chasing amateurs. He's chasing wolves. The Syndicate's grip on Los Angeles is a quiet terror, its crimes a stain on the city's glamour. Victims range from Hollywood producers to Silicon Valley tycoons, their wealth no shield against the Syndicate's audacity. Javier learns the stolen cars don't just disappear, they're stripped, repainted, and shipped to buyers in Mexico, Asia, and the Middle East, fetching millions on the black market. The operation is sophisticated with layers of operatives, scouts spotting targets, drivers executing hits, mechanics dismantling vehicles, and brokers sealing deals. At the center is Carlos Hernandez, a name whispered in fear, a man whose shadow looms over every theft. Javier's heard of him. Ex-con, mid-30s, charming but ruthless, a kingpin who rules with a smile and a switchblade. Patient is beginning in the city's underbelly where the line between law and crime blurs. He meets with informants in dive bars and back alleys, their voices low, their eyes scanning for danger. Big C's untouchable, one says, a jittery mechanic named Rico. He's got eyes everywhere, cops, dealers, even politicians. Rico's fear is palpable, but he drops a lead. a chop shop in East LA where stolen cars are broken down under cover of night. Javier organizes a raid, his team moving like phantoms. Their flashlights cutting through the dark, they find a warehouse filled with car parts, engines, rims, dashboards, but no cars. No suspects, just the faint smell of oil and betrayal. Someone tipped him off, Javier realizes, his jaw tightening. The Syndicate's reach is deeper than he feared. The case escalates, pulling in a multi-agency task force, LAP ED, FBI, DEA, each bringing resources but also bureaucracy. Agent Laura Chin, a sharp FBI profiler, joins Javier, her analytical mind a counterpoint to his street-honed instincts. Hernandez is a narcissist, she says, studying his file. He craves control, but that's his weakness. He'll slip. Javier nods, but he knows catching Carlos is like trapping smoke. They map the Syndicate's operations, tracing stolen cars to underground auctions in San Diego and shipping routes through Long Beach. Each lead is a thread, fragile but vital, in a tapestry of crime that spans continents. Javier's desk becomes a battlefield of maps, photos, and wiretap transcripts. His nights spent chasing shadows, his days haunted by victims' faces. The carjackings grow bolder, the Syndicate taunting the city. A director's Porsche stolen in broad daylight. A Harris's Maserati taken from her driveway, her screams echoing through Malibu's cliffs. Victims describe the same pattern. Masked men, silenced pistols, a chilling efficiency that leaves no room for resistance. Michael Grant, the Bel Air victim, meets Javier again, his confidence shattered. I can't sleep, he admits. Every car I hear, I think they're back. Javier listens, his heart heavy, knowing the Syndicate's terror is as much psychological as physical. The city's elite, once untouchable, now lock their gates, their trust in Los Angeles shine eroded by fear. A breakthrough comes from a low-level operative, a driver named Eddie Vargas, caught during a botched carjacking in Santa Monica. Eddie's 22, cocky but scared, his bravado crumbling under Javier's steady gaze. I'm just a wheelman, he says, sweat beading on his brow. Big C calls the shots. Under pressure, Eddie reveals a meeting spot, diner in Compton where Hernandez's lieutenants coordinate hits. Javier's team stakes it out, their vans hidden in the shadows, their radios crackling with tension. They spot a man matching Carlos's description. Tall, charismatic, his laugh carrying across the lot. But he slips away before they can move. A ghost in the night. Javier curses under his breath, the near miss a reminder of how close, yet how far they are. The investigation deepens. Javier and Laura peeling back the Syndicate's layers. They uncover a money laundering scheme, cash from car sales funneled through fake businesses, a nail salon, a car wash, a taco truck. The DEA links the operation to drug trafficking, stolen cars used to smuggle cocaine across borders. Javier's team raids a shipping yard, finding a Ferrari packed with kilos, its leather seats slashed to hide the drugs. The discovery is a victory, but it's a drop in the Syndicate's ocean. Hernandez, Javier learns, is more than a thief. He's a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of crime with global reach. His lieutenants, loyal and terrified, guard his secrets. Their silence, a wall Javier can't breach. Months pass, the task force stretched thin, the city's patience fraying. Reporters hound Javier, their headlines screaming, "Carjacking crisis grips LA." He deflects, his face a mask, but the pressure gnaws at him. He revisits crime scenes, walking Bel Air's quiet streets, imagining the Syndicate's drivers, their guns gleaming, their victims' terror. He thinks of his own daughter, Sophia, safe in college but never far from his fears. The Syndicate's shadow feels personal, a challenge to everything he stands for. Laura senses his strain, her voice gentle but firm. "We'll get him," she says. "He's not invincible." Javier wants to believe her, but Carlos's laughter from that diner haunts him, a taunt he can't shake. The turning point comes from a betrayal within the Syndicate. Rico the mechanic reappears, his hands trembling as he meets Javier in a deserted parking lot. "I'm out," he says, his voice barely a whisper. Big C's paranoid, thinks someone's talking. He's cleaning house. Rico hands over a burner phone, its call log, a map to Hernandez's inner circle. Javier's team traces the numbers, pinpointing a safe house in Miami where Carlos is hiding after a deal went south. The task force mobilizes. Javier and Laura flying east, their nerves taut as they plan the takedown. Miami's heat is oppressive, the safe house a nondescript condo overlooking the ocean. They move at dawn, SWAT breaching the door, their shouts echoing. Carlos is inside, calm as ever, his hands raised, a smirk playing on his lips. "You're persistent, detective," he says, cuffs snapping shut. "I like that." The arrest is a coup, but the Syndicate doesn't crumble. Dahir's team rounds up lieutenants, dismantles chop shops, and seizes assets, each strike weakening the empire. Eddie, Rico, and others turn state's evidence. Their testimonies a flood that buries their former boss. The trial is a spectacle. Los Angeles watching as Carlos faces charges: carjacking, money laundering, drug trafficking, racketeering. He's sentenced to 30 years, his charm useless against the evidence. His lieutenants received lesser terms, their loyalty traded for leniency. The stolen cars, many recovered, are returned to owners, but the damage lingers, dents in metal, cracks in psyches. A city forever changed. Pierre meets Michael Grant one last time, delivering his Bentley, its paint scratched but intact. Michael's smile is faint, his gratitude tinged with exhaustion. "I thought I'd feel better," he says, "but it's different now." Javier nods, knowing the Syndicate's terror-carved wounds no car can heal. He thinks of the victims, their stories a litany of fear. Their trust in Los Angeles' safety shattered. The city's highways, once symbols of freedom, now feel like battlegrounds, their curves hiding threats no one can predict. The investigation reveals the Syndicate's true scope, a network tied to cartels, arms dealers, and corrupt officials. Its roots too deep to fully uproot. Javier's team, working with international agencies, chips away, but the war is endless. He returns to Los Angeles, the city's skyline glittering, its beauty a mask for the darkness beneath. He walks a Bel Air street at dusk, the same one where Michael's Bentley was taken. The air cool, the silence heavy. He thinks of Carlos, his smirk fading behind bars, his empire fractured but not gone. Power, Javier knows, is a hydra. Cut one head and another grows. The rain begins to fall, soft and steady, washing over the city, the highways, the scars left by the Syndicate's reign. Javier pulls his coat tighter, his steps slow, his mind heavy with the weight of justice half one hung. The carjackings have slowed, the task force hailed as heroes, but the shadows remain, whispering of crimes yet to come. Los Angeles drives on, its engines roaring, its heart beating with a wary rhythm. Pierre knows the city will heal, but some fears linger, etched in the minds of those who felt the Syndicate's grip. As he walks away, the rain blurs the skyline, a reminder that even in the city of angels, darkness waits for its moment to strike. Part 6, The Murder of Carla Thornton. Rolling Acres, 2002, the suburb lies quiet under a late summer moon, its cul-de-sacs lined with manicured lawns and two-story homes, a portrait of American dreams made real. Here, in this haven of picket fences and porch lights, life unfolds predictably. Children ride bikes, neighbors wave, and secrets stay buried. But tonight, in a brick house on Maple Lane, that illusion shatters. Carla Thornton, 38, lies lifeless on her living room floor, her silk scarf knotted cruelly around her neck. Her eyes, once warm with laughter, stare blankly at the ceiling, her hands curled as if reaching for a life stolen too soon. Beside her, her husband Mark Thornton slumps unconscious, blood pooling from self-inflicted wounds on his wrists. The scene is a tableau of tragedy, a puzzle of love and betrayal that will unravel the heart of Rolling Acres. Detective Sarah Bennett arrives as dawn breaks, her SUV pulling into the driveway, the air heavy with the scent of cut grass and morning dew. She's 42, with a sharp mind and a weariness earned from years of peeling back human darkness. The house is cordoned off, neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, their whispers a chorus of shock and fear. Sarah steps inside, her boots soft on the hardwood, her gaze sweeping the room. The living room is pristine save for the bodies. A coffee table with neatly stacked magazines, a vase of fresh lilies, a family photo smiling from the mantel. Carla's body lies near the sofa, her scarf a grim noose, her face serene despite the violence. Mark, barely alive, is rushed to the hospital, his wounds superficial but telling. Sarah's instincts flare. This isn't a random crime, this is personal, intimate. A story written in blood and secrets. Carla Thornton was the heart of Rolling Acres, a school teacher whose kindness touched every student, every parent, every soul she met. She organized bake sales, coached soccer, and filled her home with warmth, her laughter a beacon in the suburb's quiet nights. Mark, her husband of 15 years, was her mirror. A 40-year-old accountant, steady and unassuming, his love for Carla evident in every shared glance. Together they were the couple everyone envied, their life a tapestry of stability and devotion. But Sarah knows perfection is a facade, and beneath it cracks can hide the darkest truths. She kneels beside Carla's body, noting the scarf's tight knots, the absence of struggle. No defensive wounds, no torn clothes, just a quiet death that feels almost consented. The investigation begins in the Thornton home, its walls holding memories and lies in equal measure. Sarah sifts through Carla's belongings, lesson plans, thank you notes from students, a diary filled with mundane joys. The diary stops abruptly a month ago, its final entry cryptic, "I don't know who he is anymore." Sarah's pulse quickens. She searches Mark's study, finding tax returns, golf scorecards, and a locked drawer that yields a burner phone. His call log shows frequent contacts with a single number, labeled only C. Sarah's mind races. An affair? A debt? A threat? She sends the phone to forensics, her gut telling her the answer lies with Mark, if he survives to tell it. Mark wakes in the hospital, his wrists bandaged, his eyes hollow. Sarah sits across from him, her voice gentle but unyielding. "What happened, Mark?" she asks. He stares at the ceiling, his voice a rasp. "I don't remember," he says. "It's all blank." Amnesia, the doctors confirm, likely from shock or guilt. Sarah presses, probing for fragments, but Mark's silence is a wall. His grief, or his act, impenetrable. She studies him, noting the way his hands tremble, the way his gaze avoids hers. If he's hiding something, it's buried deep, a truth he's not ready to face. Sarah leaves with more questions than answers, the burner phone her only lead. The suburb buzzes with grief and suspicion, neighbors clutching coffee mugs as they whisper about the Thorntons. "They were perfect," one says, shaking her head. "How could this happen?" Sarah interviews Carla's colleagues, her friends, her book club, chasing any hint of discord. Most paint a saintly picture, but a fellow teacher, Ellen, hesitates. "Carla seemed distracted lately," she says, like something was weighing on her. Ellen mentions Mark's late nights, his sudden trips out of town, excuses that didn't add up. Sarah files it away, the seed of doubt growing. Was Carla suspicious? Was Mark unraveling? The burner phone's number traces to Clara Williams, a 35-year-old paralegal in a neighboring town. Her name unfamiliar, but her connection to Mark undeniable. Sarah visits Clara at her office, a sleek firm with glass walls and hushed voices. Clara is poised, her dark hair pulled back, her smile practiced but strained. "I knew Mark," she admits, her fingers twisting a pen. "We met at a conference, just friends." But Sarah catches the flicker in her eyes, the way her voice tightens. She presses, her tone calm but relentless. "He called you 20 times last month. That's more than friends." Clara's facade cracks, her shoulders sagging. "It was a mistake," she whispers. "We got too close, but I ended it, I swear." Sarah's instincts scream. Clara's not just a mistress. She's a key, a spark that ignited the tragedy on Maple Lane. The investigation deepens, Sarah peeling back the layers of Mark and Carla's marriage. Forensics finds no foreign DNA, no signs of an intruder, pointing to an inside job. The scarf, a gift from Mark, was tied with deliberate force. It's not suggesting familiarity, not rage. Sarah revisits the house, walking its rooms at dusk, imagining Carla's final moments. The living room feels claustrophobic, its silence heavy with unspoken truths. She finds a hidden journal in Carla's nightstand, its pages raw with pain. "He's lying to me, I see it in his eyes. Who is she?" The entries trace Carla's growing suspicion, her heartbreak, her resolve to confront Mark. Sarah's chest tightens. Carla knew about Clara, and that knowledge may have sealed her fate. Mark's memory returns in fragments, his hospital interviews a dance of half-truths. "I loved her," he says, tears welling. "I'd never hurt her." But Sarah presents the burner phone, the journal, Clara's name, watching his face collapse. "It was a mistake," he chokes out. "Clara, she made me feel alive. But I ended it. I chose Carla." His words ring hollow, his guilt a shadow Sarah can't ignore. She digs into Clara Williams, uncovering a woman with a history of manipulation, broken engagements, lawsuits, a trail of men left in her wake. Clara's texts to Mark, recovered from the burner, are a mix of seduction and pressure. "Leave her, Mark, we're meant to be." Sarah's blood runs cold. Clara wasn't just an affair, she was a catalyst. Her influence, a poison in Mark's mind. The puzzle takes shape, each piece a revelation of betrayal. Sarah learns Mark confronted Carla that night, her suspicions boiling over. The argument neighbors later confirm was loud, emotional, but not violent. "I heard shouting," one says. "Then, nothing," Sarah hypothesizes. Carla demanded answers. Mark confessed, and something snapped. But the scarf, the knots, the precision, it feels too calculated for a crime of passion. She questions Clara again, this time at the precinct, her tone sharp. "Did you push him to do it?" Sarah asks. Clara's eyes narrow, her voice icy. "I loved him," she says. "I'd never hurt anyone." But her alibi, home alone, no witnesses. crumbles under scrutiny, and her calm feels like a mask. Sarah can't charge her? Not yet? But Clara's shadow looms large. Weeks pass, the suburb grappling with its loss. Carla's students leave flowers at the school, their notes a chorus of love and grief. Rolling Acres feels hollow, its innocence tarnished. Neighbors locking doors they once left open. Sarah works tirelessly, her desk a chaos of evidence bags and case files, her nights haunted by Carla's face, her serene expression a mystery she can't solve. She revisits Mark, now discharged, his home a prison of memories. "Tell me the truth," she says, her voice soft but unyielding. Mark breaks, his sobs raw, his confession spilling like a wound reopened. I didn't mean to," he says, his voice barely audible. "We fought. She knew about Clara, wouldn't let it go. I grabbed the scarf. I just wanted her to stop." He describes the moment, his hands tightening, Carla's struggle fading, his mind blank with panic. Afterward, he turned the knife on himself, unable to live with the weight. "Clara told me to leave her," he whispers. "Said we'd be free. I thought it was love." Sarah listens, her heart heavy, the truth a bitter pill. Mark's guilt is clear, but Clara's role, her manipulation, her pressure, hovers like a ghost, unpunished, but undeniable. The trial is a reckoning, Rolling Acres watching as Mark faces justice. He pleads guilty to manslaughter, his head bowed, his lawyer arguing emotional distress. The prosecutor paints a darker picture, a man who chose betrayal over loyalty, whose weakness cost a life. The judge sentences Mark to 20 years, his life confined to a cell where Carla's memory will haunt him. Clara, though questioned, walks free, her influence uncharged, her smile a taunt Sarah can't erase. The courtroom empties, neighbors weeping, the suburb's heart fractured by a truth too raw to bear. Sarah meets Carla's sister Emily after the trial, delivering a box of Carla's belongings. Lesson plans, a locket, a scarf untouched by blood. Emily's eyes well as she takes it, her voice soft. "She was my best friend," she says. "She deserved better." Sarah nods, her throat tight, knowing no verdict can restore what's lost. She thinks of Rolling Acres, its lawns still green, its home still standing, but its soul forever changed. Trust, once the suburb's currency, is now a luxury few can afford. Sarah returns to Maple Lane at twilight, the Thornton house dark, its windows reflecting the fading light. She stands on the lawn, the air cool, the silence heavy. She imagines Carla here, laughing with students, loving Mark, believing in a life that betrayed her. She thinks of Mark, his guilt a chain he'll wear forever, and Clara, free but stained, her manipulation a shadow that lingers. Betrayal, Sarah knows, is a wound that festers, its scars deeper than any knife. The rain begins to fall, soft and steady, washing over the suburb, the house, the street where love turned to tragedy. Sarah pulls her coat tighter, her steps slow, her heart heavy with the weight of justice half served. Rolling Acres will heal, but some truths cut too deep, some shadows stretch too far. A reminder that, even in the quietest places, darkness waits to claim its due. And so, dear travelers of the night, our journey through the shadows draws to a close. The rain still falls, a gentle lullaby weaving through the tales of betrayal, greed, and secrets we've uncovered. From the blood-stained streets of Richmond to the quiet despair of Rolling Acres, these stories linger like whispers in the dark, reminding us how fragile trust can be, how swiftly love can turn to loss. Wherever you rest tonight, beneath the city's glow or in the heart of the countryside, share your thoughts in the comments below, your voices joining our shadowed chorus. If these tales have haunted your dreams, leave a like, subscribe, and let the darkness draw you back. The past is never truly gone, its echoes waiting in the corners of our minds, ready to stir when the night is still. Close your eyes, let the rain carry you, and drift into sleep. But beware, for the shadows we've walked tonight may follow you into tomorrow. Until we meet again under the next moon's watchful gaze, rest well and let the mysteries of the past guide you to slumber.